You are living in a prison, not one with walls you can see, not one with bars you can touch or guards you can name. A prison far more sophisticated than that, one built entirely from the inside, brick by brick, year by year, with materials so familiar they stopped feeling like a cage a long time ago. The bricks have names, not enough time, not the right moment, not enough money, not enough experience, too old, too young, too busy, too tired, too far behind to catch up now. Excuses.
These walls,
Your excuses.
They say limit, barrier.
The ones you
Wait,
have been
it's
carrying
changing.
so long
I
they feel
created
like
these limits.
facts.
No more.
The ones you have repeated so many times they have acquired the texture of truth. The ones that live in your mouth, ready to deploy the instant your dream gets close enough to cost you something. And on the other side of every single one of those excuses is something you want. Something you have wanted for a long time. A life that looks different from the one you are living. A version of yourself that you can see clearly in your best moments and cannot seem to reach in your ordinary ones. Your excuses and your dreams cannot occupy the same space. One of them is winning right now. Let's talk about which one it is. And let's talk about how to change it. Let me show you how the prison gets built. Because it does not happen overnight. It does not happen in one dramatic moment of surrender. It happens slowly, incrementally, in decisions so small that none of them feel like the decision that changes everything until you look back and see that they did. It starts with one postponement. One reasonable, justifiable delay, the business plan that gets set aside until after the holidays, the difficult conversation that waits until the timing is better, the first step toward the goal that gets deferred until the conditions are more favorable. And the excuse is reasonable, it genuinely is. Nobody would argue with it. Nobody would call it cowardice. It just makes sense to wait, but then the postponement becomes a pattern. And the pattern becomes a posture. And the posture becomes an identity. And before you have ever made a single dramatic decision to give up on your dream, you have quietly, incrementally, entirely reasonably constructed a life in which that dream has no room to exist. That is the genius of the excuse prison. It never announces itself. It does not arrive with a verdict. It builds around you while you are busy being sensible. While you are being patient, while you are waiting for the moment that will never come because the habit of waiting has already consumed the space where action was supposed to live. And the cruelest part of all? The bars feel like wisdom. The walls feel like responsibility. The cage feels like the reasonable adult choice. And so you stay, not because you are forced to, because you have been convinced by your own mind, in your own voice, that staying is the smart thing to do. It is not smart. It is surrender. Slow, reasonable, completely self-administered surrender. Let us pull the excuses into the light, because they are powerful in the dark and almost nothing in direct examination. I don't have enough time. That is the most common bar in the prison. The most load-bearing. The one people reach for first, fastest, and with the most conviction. And I am going to dismantle it directly. You have the same 24 hours as every person who is building the thing you wish you were building. The same hours as the person who started the business, wrote the book, changed their health, built the relationship you admire. They were not given extra time. They made different decisions about the time they had. Time is not the variable. Priority is. I am not ready yet. Ready is a moving target that your fear sets and keeps moving. Every time you get close enough to feel ready, the bar shifts. More preparation needed. More research required. One more thing to learn before the attempt can be justified. Ready is not a destination, it is a mechanism. A mechanism your excuses use to keep the dream permanently in the future tense where it costs you nothing and changes nothing. It is too late for me. This one is the most insidious because it arrives dressed in self-awareness. It sounds like honesty. It sounds like realism. But it is neither. It is fear wearing the mask of wisdom. The truth is that the best time to start was earlier. The second best time is right now. Today. With whatever you have. From wherever you are. The only version of too late that is real is the one where you run out of time entirely. And that version has not arrived yet, which means this excuse is a lie you are telling yourself to make inaction feel inevitable. Strip the excuse of its reasonable clothing, and what remains is always the same thing underneath. Fear. Fear of failure. Fear of judgment. Fear of trying your hardest and still coming up short. That fear is real, but it is not a reason. It is a feeling. And feelings, unlike facts, can be acted through. Think about a bird that has been kept in a cage since it was young. At first it tested the bars, pushed against them, felt the boundary and pulled back. But after enough time, something shifts. The bird stops testing. Not because the bars have gotten stronger, they are exactly as strong as they always were, but because the bird has stopped believing in the space beyond them. The cage has become the world. The boundary has become the belief. Now open the door, swing it all the way open, stand back, and watch what happens. The bird does not fly, not immediately, because the open door does not instantly undo the years of believing there was no door. The bird sits at the threshold, technically free, practically still caged, held in place not by bars but by a map of reality that was drawn inside a cage and has never been updated. That bird is you. The open door is the opportunity that keeps appearing in your life. The dream that keeps returning no matter how many times you dismiss it. The version of yourself that keeps showing up in your quiet moments and asking why you have not come yet. The bars are gone. They were made of excuses and excuses. Once examined, dissolve. What remains is a threshold, and crossing it requires only one thing: the decision to update the map. To stop navigating by the boundaries of the cage that no longer exists, to fly imperfectly and uncertainly into the space that has been available all along. The door is open. It has been open for a while. When are you going to fly? I want you to understand what staying in the excuse prison actually costs. Not abstractly, in real terms, in the currency of a human life. It costs you the dream itself. Obviously. But it costs you more than that. It costs you the person you would have become in the pursuit of the dream. Because the goal is never just the outcome. The goal is who you have to become to reach it. The discipline built in the trying. The resilience forged in the failing. The clarity earned in the doing. Every year inside the excuse prison is a year that person does not develop. A year of becoming that does not happen. It costs you your self-respect. Not immediately, not in a single obvious moment, but every time you make an excuse you know is not the full truth, something registers. A quiet audit. A running tally that your own integrity keeps whether you are paying attention or not. And over years of excuses, over years of choosing the comfortable story over the honest one, that tally accumulates into a kind of low-grade self-contempt that is difficult to name and impossible to ignore. You stop fully trusting yourself, because you have given yourself repeated evidence that when it gets hard, you renegotiate, and it costs you time, the only resource that is genuinely, irreversibly finite. Every year in the cage is a year that belonged to the dream and was given to the excuse instead. It does not roll over. It does not return. It is spent. And what was purchased with it is a slightly more elaborate, slightly more convincing, slightly more deeply grooved version of the cage that was already there. Is that what you are spending your years on? Is that the return you are getting on the one life you have been given? So how do you break out? Not philosophically, practically, in the real conditions of a real life with real obligations and real fear, and a mind that has been building this cage for a long time and will not dismantle it without resistance. You start by telling the truth, not to anyone else, to yourself, about what the excuse actually is, about what it is protecting you from. Not the surface reason, the real one. The business is not on hold because of the money. It is on hold because starting it makes the failure of it possible, and possible failure is terrifying. Say that. Out loud, privately, honestly. Name the actual fear, because an excuse named honestly is an excuse that has lost most of its power. It is the unnamed ones, the ones wearing the costume of reason, that do the most damage. Then you take one action, not the whole plan, not the complete transformation. One specific, immediate, friction-reducing action in the direction of the dream. Make the call. Write the first paragraph. Book the appointment. Send the message. Do the one thing that the excuse has been successfully blocking for the longest time, and do it before the mind has time to construct a new argument against it, because momentum is the enemy of the excuse prison. The cage is maintained by stillness, by the inertia of not moving, which makes the next moment of not moving easier, and the one after that easier still. Break the inertia with one action and the whole structure weakens. Not collapses, weakens. One action does not free you, but it proves that the bars are not as solid as they look. And that proof, earned through action rather than argument, is the beginning of everything. Your excuses are not going to disappear. Let me be honest with you about that. They are not going to stop showing up. The voice that says, not yet, not now, not you, that voice is not going away. It is part of the architecture. It has been there too long, and it is too well practiced to simply stop. What changes is not the presence of the excuse. What changes is the power you give it. Right now, your excuses have authority. They have the final word. They arrive, they present their case, and you accept the verdict. That is the dynamic that has built the cage you are in. And that dynamic ends the moment you decide, genuinely, irrevocably decide, that the dream outranks the excuse, that what you want matters more than the comfort of the justification for not pursuing it, that you are no longer available to be argued out of your own life. Your dream has been waiting. It has been waiting through every excuse, every delay, every almost and every next time. It has not given up on you even when you gave up on it. It is still there. Specific. Vivid. Yours. Waiting on the other side of the one decision you keep not making. Make it now. Not perfectly. Not fearlessly. Make it with the fear fully present and the excuses already forming their next argument. And make it anyway. Tear down the cage, brick by brick, excuse by excuse, one honest confrontation at a time. You built it, which means you have everything required to demolish it. The same mind that constructed every bar is capable of dismantling everyone. Stop choosing the excuse. Start choosing the dream. Rise. Break out. Move forward. And do not look back at the cage. It was never a home. It was always a choice.